Captain Jake Morrison walked down the long metal hallway of the human ship Aurora's Dawn. His boots made soft clicking sounds on the floor. The ship was quiet today, floating in space near the small moon called Kepler 7b. Outside the thick windows, Jake could see the strange purple glow of the moon's surface. This was not Earth. This was far from home. Jake stopped at a door marked with symbols from 12 different alien languages. Inside this room, humans had been talking to aliens for 20 years. 20 long years of meetings and words and promises that led nowhere. Today felt different, though. Today felt like an ending. Ambassador Lisa Parker sat at a large round table in the center of the room. She was a small woman with gray hair and tired eyes. Across from her sat the alien they called Speaker Veltar. The creature looked like it, was made of living crystal. Light passed through its body and came out as rainbow colors on the walls. When it spoke, its voice sounded like wind chimes in a storm. "The Galactic Council has made its final decision," Veltar said. The crystal being's words echoed in the room. "Humans are too dangerous to be full members of our community. You fight too much. You argue too much. You want too much." Lisa kept her face calm, but Jake could see her hands were tight fists under the table. Behind her stood Dr. Alex Carter, a thin man who studied alien minds for a living. Alex had warned them this might happen. The aliens were afraid of humans, but they would never admit it. "What exactly are you asking us to do?" Lisa asked. Her voice was steady and professional, the same voice she had used in hundreds of these meetings. Another alien spoke up from across the table. This one looked like a giant squid that could walk on land. Its skin was wet and blue-green, and it breathed through gills on its neck. The humans called these aliens nautiloids because they looked like sea creatures from Earth's oceans. "You must give up 60% of your colony worlds," the squid-like alien said, through a machine that translated its underwater speech. "Your people on those worlds will move to designated areas. They will learn proper behavior from council teachers." Jake felt his stomach turn cold. 60% of human colonies meant millions of people, families who had built new lives on distant planets, children who had never seen Earth but called those worlds home. Dr. Alex Carter stepped forward. "Speaker Veltar, with respect, humans have followed every agreement we've made. We've limited our military. We've shared our technology. We've helped your people solve problems that no one else could solve. What more do you want from us?" The crystal alien's body flashed with angry red light. "Humans think they are special. You think your way is the only way. You do not understand harmony. You do not understand peace." Lisa stood up slowly. For 20 years, she had sat in chairs like this one, listening to aliens tell humans what they could and could not do. She had smiled when they insulted her people. She had said sorry when humans defended themselves. She had begged for scraps of respect from creatures who used human inventions every day. "I understand peace," Lisa said quietly. "I've spent half my life trying to make peace with you. But you don't want peace. You want surrender." The room became very quiet. Even the machines that kept the air clean seemed to stop humming. Jake had never heard Lisa speak like this before. In all the years he had known her, she had always been polite to the aliens, always patient, always hopeful that tomorrow would be better. Veltar's crystal body began to glow brighter. "Humans will accept the Council's terms, or humans will be removed from Council space entirely." "Removed?" Dr. Carter asked. "What does that mean?" The squid-like alien spoke again. "It means your ships will not be welcome near our worlds. Your traders will not be allowed in our markets. Your people will not receive help if they are in trouble." Jake wanted to laugh, but nothing about this was funny. The aliens were threatening to cut off humans from galactic society, but they had never really let humans into galactic society in the first place. For 20 years, humans had been like guests who were never invited to sit at the dinner table. Lisa picked up the data pad that contained the Council's demands. She read through the long list of things humans would have to give up: their fastest ships, their best planets, their right to explore new star systems, their right to defend themselves. You know what I find interesting? Lisa said, still reading, from the pad. This list mentions that humans will no longer be allowed to provide medical aid to council worlds. No more human doctors. No more human medicines. The aliens around the table shifted uncomfortably. Human medical technology was the best in the galaxy. When the plague hit the Zephyrian outer colonies last year, human doctors had saved millions of lives. It also says humans can no longer provide engineering services to council members, Lisa continued. No more fixing your hyperspace gates when they break down. No more upgrading your power systems. No more solving the problems that your own people can't figure out. Feltar's rainbow lights dimmed slightly. Humans are useful in some ways, but usefulness does not grant the right to full membership. Lisa set down the data pad and looked directly at the crystal alien. For 20 years, we've tried to earn your respect. We've given you everything you asked for and more. We've saved your people. We've improved your technology. We've made your lives better in 1,000 different ways. And what have you given us in return? We have given humans the gift of civilization, the squid alien said proudly. No, Lisa said, her voice getting stronger. You've given us nothing but lectures about how we're not good enough for you. Well, I have news for you. We're done trying to be good enough. Jake felt something change in the room. It was like the moment before a storm breaks, when the air becomes heavy and still. Lisa stood up and walked toward the door. Dr. Carter followed her, and then Jake followed them both. At the door, Lisa turned around one last time. The human delegation is withdrawing from these negotiations, she said. We're withdrawing from all negotiations. Don't bother calling us again. As they walked back down the hallway, Jake could hear the aliens talking loudly behind them. They sounded confused and angry. They had expected humans to beg. They had expected humans to accept whatever scraps they were offered. On the bridge of the ship, Communications Officer Danny Walsh was already receiving messages from Earth. The Global Assembly had been watching the negotiations through hidden cameras. They had seen everything. Captain, Danny said, his voice excited and scared at the same time. Earth Command says we're going home. All human diplomats are being recalled. All trade agreements are being canceled. All cooperation with the Galactic Council is ending immediately. Jake looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth, the small blue planet where humans came from. For the first time in 20 years, they were going back to being just humans. No more trying to fit in with aliens who would never accept them. Set course for Earth, Jake ordered. It's time to go home. As the Aurora's dawn turned away from Kepler 7b, Lisa watched the alien station grow smaller in the distance. She felt tired, but also something else. Something she hadn't felt in a very long time. She felt free. 3 years had passed since the humans walked out of the peace talks. 3 years since their ships had disappeared from the trade routes that connected the galaxy. Admiral Thexmore swam slowly through the underwater city of Nautila Prime, his tentacles moving through the warm current that flowed between the tall coral buildings. The city looked different now.
Many of the shops were closed. The bright lights that once advertised human goods were dark. The trading posts where human merchants used to sell their amazing inventions stood empty. Even the medical centers were quieter, because they no longer
had access to human medicines that could cure diseases no one else understood. Thexmore arrived at the Intelligence Building, a massive structure made from grown coral and shaped metal. Inside, Director Krisha waited for him in a room filled with screens showing star maps and data from across the galaxy. Krisha was smaller than most nautiloids, but her mind was sharp like a blade. Show me the reports, Thexmore said, settling, his large body into a specially designed chair that could hold his weight in the water-filled room. Krisha pressed several buttons and the screens around them came alive with information. The human colonies have gone completely silent. Not destroyed, not abandoned, just quiet. No radio signals, no trade broadcasts, no diplomatic messages. It's like they've built walls around their entire civilization. The Admiral studied the maps. Red dots marked human colonies throughout the galaxy. All of them showed the same thing. No communication for 3 years. What about our spy ships? Have they tried to get close? We sent 3 ships to the edge of human space last month, Krisha replied. They found something we've never seen before. The humans have put up warning signs in every major galactic language. The message is simple. Human space. Authorized personnel only. Our ships didn't try to cross the boundary. Thexmore felt a cold current run through his gills. They're afraid? Terrified. And they should be. Look at this. Krisha changed the displays to show economic data from across the galaxy. The numbers were painted in red, showing loss after loss. Without human trade, 17 star systems are facing economic collapse. The Zephyrian crystal farms can't grow properly without human fertilizers. The Mantid hive ships are breaking down because they don't have access to human repair technology. On the planet Crystalla Prime, Speaker Veltar stood in his crystal garden, watching the sunset paint the sky in beautiful colors. But the beauty felt hollow now. The garden was dying. The special lights that helped the crystal plants grow had been made by human engineers. When they broke down 6 months ago, no one knew how to fix them. Veltar received visitors every day now. Leaders from dozens of worlds, all asking the same question. When would the humans come back? The crystal alien had no answer for them. The Galactic Council had tried to contact Earth hundreds of times. Every message was ignored. A young Zephyrian named Silara approached through the garden. Her crystal body was dim, a sign of worry and fear. Speaker, we have reports from the outer colonies. The plague has returned. Veltar felt his internal light flicker. The plague was a disease that attacked the nervous systems of crystal-based life forms. Human doctors had found a cure 3 years ago, just before the peace talks ended. Without that cure, thousands would die. Contact the human. Medical ships, Veltar said automatically, then stopped himself. There were no human medical ships anymore. There were no humans to contact. Meanwhile, far from the alien worlds on a planet called New Dakota, Colonel Beth Martinez walked through a construction site unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The project covered hundreds of square miles, with human workers and machines building something that looked like a combination of factory, research center, and fortress. Dr. Kevin Brooks met her at the center of the construction zone. He was a tall man with gray hair and smart eyes who had once worked with alien scientists on projects that helped the entire galaxy. Now he worked only for humanity. How much longer until it's finished? Beth asked, looking at the massive structures rising from the ground. Another 6 months for the basic framework, Kevin replied. 2 years for full operational capacity. When it's done, we won't need to trade with anyone for anything. Food, medicine, technology, raw materials. We'll produce everything ourselves. Beth nodded. The project was called the Terra Defense Initiative. But it wasn't about building weapons, it was about building independence. Complete independence from the galaxy that had rejected them. What about the other sites? Beth asked. 47 colonies are building similar facilities, Kevin said. Each one designed to be completely self-sufficient. We're not just leaving the galactic community. We're making sure we never need it again. Commander Steve Jackson piloted his small scout ship through what used to be the busiest trade route in the galaxy. The Meridian Corridor had once been filled with thousands of ships carrying goods between human and alien worlds. Now it was empty except for the warning buoys that marked the boundary of human space. Steve had been ordered to check the boundary markers and make sure they were working properly. As he flew past each buoy, his ship's computer automatically broadcast the warning message in dozens of languages. The message was polite but firm. Humans were no longer accepting visitors. His radio crackled with a weak signal. Someone was trying to contact him from outside human space. Steve listened, but didn't respond. It was a Mantid ship, asking permission to enter human territory. The insect-like aliens were desperate for spare parts for their ships. Their entire civilization was built around space travel, but their technology was breaking down without human engineers. Steve felt a moment of sympathy for them. The Mantids had always been more reasonable than the Zephyrians or Nautiloids, but orders were orders, no exceptions. On Earth, in the capital city of Geneva, President Ryan Cooper met with his advisors in a secure conference room deep underground. The room's walls were covered with screens showing the status of human colonies throughout the galaxy. Every screen showed the same thing. Humans were thriving in isolation. "The agricultural reports are excellent," said Dr. Patricia Lee, Earth's leading expert on alien societies. "Our food production is up 30% since we stopped exporting to alien worlds. Medical research has advanced faster in 3 years than it did in the previous 10. Without having to share our discoveries, we're making breakthroughs every month." Fleet Admiral Kate Wilson stood at the main display, pointing to various star systems. "Our border defense network is nearly complete. Any alien ship that tries to enter human space without permission will be detected immediately. We have the capability to defend every human world simultaneously." President Cooper studied the reports. "What about the refugees? Our scouts report increasing numbers of alien civilians fleeing toward the galactic rim. Small groups of aliens have been leaving their homeworlds and trying to reach neutral space," Admiral Wilson confirmed. "Most are families from worlds where the economy has collapsed. They're not a military threat, but they are a sign of how bad things are getting out there." Dr. Lee pulled up new data on her personal screen. "The situation is accelerating. According to our intelligence sources, the Galactic Council hasn't met in 8 months. Several member species have recalled their ambassadors and are focusing on their own survival." Through the large windows of the conference room, President Cooper could see the lights of Geneva stretching to the horizon. Earth was more prosperous now than it had ever been. Human colonies were expanding and growing stronger. The human military was more advanced than ever before. But sometimes, late at night, Cooper wondered if they were doing the right thing. Somewhere out there, alien children were going hungry because their worlds couldn't feed themselves without human help. Alien patients were dying because their doctors didn't have human medicines. Then he remembered the peace talks. He remembered 20 years of humans begging for basic respect and getting nothing but insults in return. He remembered the Council's final demand: surrender 60% of human worlds and accept behavioral modification to make humans less human. No, Cooper thought. Humanity had tried to be part of the galactic community. The galaxy had rejected them. Now the galaxy would learn what it meant to live without them. Outside Earth's atmosphere, human patrol ships continued their silent watch over the home system. The message they carried to the galaxy was simple. Humanity remembered everything, and humanity would decide when and if they would return to galactic civilization. The age of human isolation had begun. The plague had spread to 47 worlds now. Speaker Veltar stood in the empty halls of the Galactic Council building on Crystalla Prime, reading the latest death reports. His crystal body had lost most of its bright colors and now looked gray and dull. The disease that attacked crystal-based life forms was killing his people by the millions. Without human doctors and human medicine, there was nothing the Zephyrians could do except watch their loved ones die. The cure existed somewhere in human space, stored in databases that no alien was allowed to access anymore. Veltar had sent 17 different messages to Earth begging for help. None of them received an answer. The hyperspace gate that connected Crystalla Prime to the rest of the galaxy had been failing for 6 months. Strange noises came from the ancient machine, and its energy readings were getting weaker every day. The Zephyrian engineers who tried to fix it could only shake their heads in confusion. The technology was too complex for them to understand. The gate had been built by an ancient race called the Builders, but it had been maintained and improved by human engineers for the past 50 years. Human hands had touched every circuit, every power coupling, every control system. Now those same hands were building gates for human colonies only, while the alien worlds slowly lost their connections to each other. On the ocean world of Nautila, Prime Admiral Thexmore received the worst news yet. 3 entire star systems had gone dark, not attacked by enemies, not destroyed by war, but simply abandoned as their populations fled to find food and medicine elsewhere. Director Krishaw swam into his office carrying datapads filled with refugee reports. "The Mantid hive ships are breaking down faster than expected," she reported. "Without human maintenance, their life support systems are failing. Entire hives are dying in space because they can't reach safe worlds. Thexmore felt sick to his stomach sacks. The mantids were a proud species who had traveled between stars for thousands of years. Now they were trapped on whatever worlds they could reach before their ship stopped working. "What about the agricultural world scare?" he asked. "Famine on 12 systems," Krisha replied. "The soil enhancement techniques that humans developed are wearing off. Crop yields are down 70% across the outer colonies. People are eating tree bark and grass to survive." The Admiral looked at the star maps on his wall. Red markers showed dead or dying worlds. Yellow markers showed worlds in crisis. Green markers, which used to represent healthy and prosperous systems, had almost disappeared entirely. "How long do we have?" Thexmore asked. "At the current rate of collapse, most Council worlds will be uninhabitable within 2 years," Krisha said quietly. "Unless something changes soon." On Earth, in a secure observation facility in the Rocky Mountains, Director Amy Foster watched the alien communications networks through equipment that could intercept signals from across the galaxy. The humans had been listening to alien broadcasts since the day they left the Galactic Council. They knew exactly how bad things were getting. Amy studied the latest intelligence reports. Alien civilizations were starting to fight each other over the remaining resources. The Zephyrians had quarantined 3 of their own systems to prevent the plague from spreading. The Nautiloids had closed their borders and were not allowing any refugees into their space. Smaller alien species were fleeing toward the galactic rim, hoping to find empty worlds where they could start over. A young intelligence officer named Tony Green brought her the daily summary. "The situation is accelerating," he reported. "We're detecting military movements in 6 different sectors. The aliens are preparing for war with each other." Amy nodded. This was exactly what the human leadership had predicted. When civilizations collapse, they usually turn on their neighbors before they turn on themselves. President Ryan Cooper walked through the halls of the Global Assembly building in Geneva, preparing for the most important speech of his presidency. Representatives from every human colony world had gathered to hear his decision. The question that faced humanity was simple but terrible. Should they continue to watch the galaxy burn, or should they step in to save the species that had rejected them? In the assembly hall, Admiral Kate Wilson presented the military analysis to the gathered representatives. "We have the capability to end the crisis," she said, pointing to displays that showed human fleet positions throughout the galaxy. "Our medical ships could cure the plague within 6 months. Our engineers could repair the failing hyperspace gates. Our agricultural experts could restore food production to pre-crisis levels." "But should we?" asked Senator Bill Clark from the EU Mars colony. "These are the same aliens who told us we were too dangerous for full membership in their council. The same ones who demanded we give up 60% of our worlds and accept their behavioral modification programs." Dr. Patricia Lee stood up from her seat in the front row. "The moral question is complicated," she said. "These aliens insulted us, rejected us, and tried to control us. But children are dying out there. Entire species face extinction. Do we really want to be responsible for genocide through inaction?" The debate continued for hours. Some representatives argued that humanity owed the aliens nothing. Others said that helping those in need was what made humans better than their former oppressors. A few suggested that this was the perfect opportunity to reshape galactic civilization with humans at the top. On the border between human and alien space, Lieutenant Sam Davis sat in his patrol ship reading the latest refugee reports. Every day, more alien civilian ships appeared at the boundary markers, begging for permission to enter human territory. The aliens in these ships were not soldiers or diplomats. They were families with children, old people, sick people who just wanted to survive. Sam's orders were clear. No aliens were allowed to cross into human space without authorization from Earth. But watching desperate parents hold up their dying children to his ship's cameras was the hardest thing he had ever done. His communication system activated with an emergency signal. A mantid family ship was breaking down just outside the boundary. Their distress call was desperate. 3 adult mantids and 12 larvae needed immediate medical attention. Their ship's life support would fail within hours. Sam looked at the boundary markers floating in space around him. Those markers represented humanity's decision to turn its back on galactic society. But they also represented the suffering of innocent beings who had never voted to reject humanity in the first place. He made a choice that would change everything. Sam powered up his ship's engines and crossed the boundary into alien space. Within minutes, he had docked with the Mantid vessel and was helping the family transfer to his ship. The adult Mantids were too weak to speak, but their large compound eyes showed gratitude and hope. As Sam's ship headed back toward human space with its alien passengers, his actions were being recorded by monitoring stations throughout the sector. Within hours, the news would reach Earth. A human officer had broken the isolation protocols to save alien lives. Back in Geneva, President Cooper received the report about Lieutenant Davis, just as the Global Assembly was preparing to vote on humanity's future relationship with the galaxy. The young officer's actions had provided an answer to the moral question that had divided the Assembly. Cooper stood at the podium and looked out at the representatives who would decide humanity's path forward. A human soldier just risked his career to save alien children, he said. That tells me everything I need to know about who we are as a species. The galaxy was dying, and only humanity had the power to save it. The question was no longer whether they should help, but what price the galaxy would pay for that help. The age of human dominance was about to begin. 5 years had passed since the humans walked away from the peace talks. The galaxy was now a graveyard of failed civilizations. Admiral Thexmore floated alone in the command center of Harmony Point, the ancient space station where the Galactic Council used to meet. Most of the other council members were dead or had fled to distant stars. The station's lights were dim because there was not enough power to keep them bright. The air recycling systems made strange noises that worried everyone who heard them. Without human engineers to maintain the complex machinery, Harmony Point was slowly dying just like everything else in the galaxy. Thexmore looked at the communication device in front of him. For weeks he had been trying to build up the courage to send one final message to the humans. Not a demand this time, not even a request. A confession. His tentacles moved slowly over the control panel as he began to record. This is Admiral Thexmore of the Nautiloid Defense Fleet, speaking for what remains of the Galactic Council, he said into the camera. We were wrong. We were wrong about everything. The Admiral paused, his gills moving slowly as he breathed the recycled air. We told you that humans were too violent, too aggressive, too dangerous for our civilized galaxy. But we were the dangerous ones. We built our civilization on your backs and then kicked you when you asked for equal treatment. He looked directly into the camera. We are dying out here. Our children are starving. Our sick are beyond help. Our ships are breaking down. In space. We rejected your friendship and now we are paying the price. We do not deserve your help, but we are asking for it anyway. Not as equals, but as defeated people who finally understand what we have lost. The message was transmitted toward Earth, using the station's last working communication array. Then Thexmore settled back to wait. He expected no answer. The humans had ignored hundreds of messages over the past 5 years. Why would this one be different? On Earth, Admiral Kate Wilson stood on the bridge of the human flagship Defiant Spirit as it orbited the blue and green planet that had given birth to humanity. The ship was massive, built with technology that surpassed anything the galaxy had ever seen. It was a symbol of what humans could achieve when they stopped trying to please everyone else. Kate read Thexmore's message on her personal display. Around her, the bridge crew went about their duties with quiet efficiency. These men and women represented the best of humanity, smart, disciplined, and ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. Admiral, her communications officer said, we're receiving similar messages from 17 other alien leaders. They all say basically the same thing. Kate nodded. The aliens were finally ready to surrender completely. After 5 years of watching their civilizations collapse, they understood that humanity held all the power in the galaxy. President Ryan Cooper addressed the Global Assembly one final time before the vote that would reshape galactic civilization. The assembly hall was packed with representatives from every human world, military officers, scientists, and business leaders who would help manage humanity's new empire. The question before us today is not whether we should help the aliens, Cooper said from the podium. The question is what kind of galaxy we want to build from the ashes of their failures. Dr. Patricia Lee stood up in the front row. The psychological profiles are clear, she said. The aliens who survive this crisis will never again see humans as equals. They will see us as saviors, as leaders, as the species that rescued them from extinction. That gives us an opportunity to prevent future conflicts. Admiral Wilson activated a holographic display that showed the current state of the galaxy. Most star systems were marked in red, indicating abandoned or dying worlds. We have the power to restore civilization, she said. But this time it will be human civilization expanded to a galactic scale. The vote was unanimous. Humanity would return to the galaxy, but not as the hopeful diplomats who had begged for acceptance 25 years ago. They would return as conquerors who chose mercy over revenge. Ambassador Lisa Parker stood in the airlock of her ship as it approached Harmony Point. She was older now, her hair completely gray, but her eyes were sharp and determined. The same woman who had walked out of the peace talks 5 years ago was returning to accept the galaxy's surrender. Behind her stood Captain Jake Morrison, now promoted to admiral and wearing the uniform of the human galactic fleet. The same man, who had escorted diplomats, was now commanding the ships that would enforce humanity's rule across the stars. The airlock opened, and Lisa stepped onto Harmony Point for the first time in 5 years. The station looked terrible. Broken lights hung from the ceiling. Water stains covered the walls where pipes had burst and never been repaired. The air smelled stale and old. Thexmore waited for her in the same chamber where the Galactic Council had once met. The proud alien who had once dismissed human concerns now looked weak and desperate. His skin had lost its healthy blue-green color and looked pale and sick. "Ambassador Parker," Thexmore said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Thank you for coming." Lisa sat down at the table, but this time she sat in the chair that had once belonged to Speaker Veltar. The crystal alien was dead now, killed by the same plague that had claimed billions of his people. "I'm not Ambassador Parker anymore," she said calmly. "I'm Director Parker of the Human Galactic Administration." Other alien leaders began to enter the chamber. A few mantids who represented the survivors of their species. Some smaller aliens from worlds that humans had barely heard of. All of them looked defeated and afraid. "We are here to formally surrender control of galactic civilization to humanity," Thexmore said. "We recognize that our species cannot survive without human guidance and protection." Lisa opened a data pad that contained the terms of humanity's acceptance of galactic leadership. The terms were fair but absolute. Humans would provide medical aid, engineering support, and food distribution to all alien worlds. In exchange, those worlds would become part of the Human Confederation and follow human laws. "There will be no more Galactic Council," Lisa explained. "No more committee meetings where everyone gets an equal vote regardless of their contribution to galactic society. From now on, decisions will be made by humans for the benefit of everyone." One of the mantids raised a thin arm. "What about our traditional ways of life, our customs and cultures?" "You can keep your cultures as long as they don't conflict with human values," Lisa replied. "No more slavery, no more discrimination based on species, no more wars over resources that can be shared. You'll find that human values are quite reasonable." Jake stepped forward and activated a communication device. "This is Admiral Morrison to all human galactic fleet vessels. Begin Phase 1 of the restoration operation." Across the galaxy, human ships that had been waiting at the edges of alien space began to move. Medical vessels headed for plague-stricken worlds. Engineering ships moved toward broken hyperspace gates. Agricultural support vessels aimed for starving colonies. But these were not the same humble humans who had once begged for acceptance. These ships carried the flag of the Human Confederation and the authority to enforce human will across the Yao galaxy. On Earth, President Cooper watched the reports coming in from across human space. Alien leaders were broadcasting messages of gratitude and submission to their own people. Children who had been dying of hunger were receiving human food supplies. Patients who had been beyond help were being cured by human doctors. "Sir," his aide said, "we're receiving requests from 47 different species asking to join the Human Confederation officially." Cooper nodded. "Approve them all. But make sure they understand the terms. This isn't a partnership. This is adoption. They follow our rules, accept our protection, and contribute to our society according to their abilities." Back on Harmony Point, Lisa stood up from the table as the surrender ceremony concluded. The ancient space station would be converted into a human administrative center, just one of hundreds that would be built across the galaxy. Thexmore approached her as the other aliens filed out of the chamber. "Director Parker," he said, "I must ask, do you hate us for what we did to your people?" Lisa considered the question carefully. "Hate is a waste of energy," she said finally. "You taught us an important lesson about power and respect. We're grateful for that lesson, even if you didn't mean to teach it." As Lisa walked back to her ship, she passed human workers who were already beginning to repair Harmony Point. The galaxy would be restored, but it would be a human galaxy now. The species that had once rejected humanity would spend the rest of their existence under human protection and human rule. A message was broadcast across the galaxy in hundreds of languages. "The Human Confederation welcomes all species who accept our leadership. We offer peace, prosperity, and protection to those who embrace human values. We remember the past, but we choose to build a better future together." The age of human dominance had truly begun, born not from conquest, but from the galaxy's own inability to survive without the species they had once scorned. Humanity had abandoned peace on alien terms and imposed peace on their own. The galaxy would never make the mistake of underestimating humans again.